Thank you all so much for that very warm welcome. I want to take you on a little journey. We'll go back in time for a minute. It was the 1990s, and I had just finished high school. I'm not going to give you the exact date because I'll really be dating myself then. But suffice it to say that immediately afterwards I enrolled in community college, which in this case was College of the Canyons in Valencia. Now, I was working retail at the time because I had to pay the bills and put food on the table. I lived on my own and had for about a year. I was working for a small camera store in town, and shortly after I'd been working there, a few months in, I was invited to, well, I was asked to step into the manager's role, so I was promoted. And I really gave it some thought, and I said, wow, this is an opportunity to make a lot more money and to step into a leadership role. And I thought, this is, I think, something that would be foolish to pass up. So I took advantage of the opportunity, and I stepped into that position. As I said before, it was too much to pass up, but when I look back, I realized I had taken the low-hanging fruit. Sure, I was making more money, but my entire schedule was jam-packed. I didn't have any free time anymore, and you can imagine what comes next. Being in community college, I realized that I can't do both of these things. I can't serve two masters, so I had to pull out of college. Unfortunately, as time wore on, this situation repeated itself more and more in my life. Numerous times over the years, I tried to return to school, but my career kept winning out and pulling me back out of school. I'd like to go ahead and fast forward things now to May of 2014. On this particular day at about 10 p.m. at night, I received a notification on Facebook from my brother's ex-wife. She informed me that my brother was in the hospital and had just been in a catastrophic automobile accident. I rushed to the hospital and I found out that he was in critical condition. And at that time he was going through emergency surgeries, and we really didn't know what the prognosis would be. He was unconscious, he had tubes coming out of him. I had a whole team of doctors that met me when I got there. I had his two teenage sons that showed up, my nephews. We weren't really sure what was going to happen. The good news is that he was pretty broken up physically. He was not able to walk. We're lucky he lived. But he, at that time, lucky for us, was mentally okay. So his body was broken down, but his brain was still intact. And we couldn't have been happier about that. Now, he started to get better, little by little, and he was almost to the point. He was touching the edge of the bed. They were giving him physical therapy. He was almost getting to the point where he would be able to step up on his own weight. Now we're going to move forward to June 16th of that same year. He had really severe back wounds and had spinal surgeries, among others. And they took him into the operating room for what had become a fairly routine surgery at that time. He'd had 3 or 4 of these surgeries on his back to debride the back wound. The only reason they brought him to the operating room to do it was because it was a sterile environment. We didn't really think much of it. The day before had been Father's Day. My whole family had gathered and we had what was a perfect day. The morning of June 16th, I got a phone call from my mother. Unfortunately, as soon as they had given him the drug to put him under, he flatlined. He was out for 20 minutes. And after a lot of epinephrine, a lot of defibrillation, a lot of CPR, they were able to bring him back by the grace of God. But then a few minutes later, he was out again. This time for 10 more minutes. Now, when they brought him back this time, he was a different person. He was no longer able to communicate or talk or move or show us really any signs of life, except the good news was he was breathing on his own. We were very grateful for the fact that he was alive, but our family had to confront this new situation. This was not the same person that had gone in for that surgery. Now, this is my older brother. He was only 42 at the time. And as I said, I have 2 young nephews. They were teenagers at the time. They're still teenagers. He didn't have a will or a trust. He'd never considered this. I mean, it was unimaginable, quite frankly. So I had to go to court and basically confront the probate system, something I was unfamiliar with. I got an attorney. I went to several court dates. I had to talk to the judge, and I was able to get appointed as his guardian and conservator. Now, after a lot of work, a lot of attorneys, I was able to get my brother back home to live with my parents in 2015, where to this day he has 24-hour nursing care. I can't tell you how happy we are that he's alive, and we really look forward to the day when he can utter his first words. Now, it's unknown when and if that might happen, but the brain is a mysterious thing, and they tell us that they've seen recoveries from people in these situations. It's really unknown whether and if it will happen. So we're just grateful, and we do continue to hold out hope. However, for now, he remains in what they call a vegetative state. Now, why did I tell you all this? Kind of bring you down? What's this all about? Well, I wanted to tell you about this because this dramatically impacted my life. This had a substantial impact on my life. I quickly realized more than ever, life is short, and it's precious, and it's fragile. We just have a limited amount of time here on this earth. I'd always been positive, and I try to maintain an attitude of gratitude. That's kind of my nature. But this really changed me. This made me think about how much time do I really have on this earth. I began to reconsider how much time that really will amount to. And am I taking the direction I want, going the path that I want in this life? I realized at the snap of a finger, it can all be over. So I had an epiphany. I decided it was time, even though, sure, I was an older student, older than the average anyway. I was a bit balder, a bit heavier, a bit grayer. But I thought, man, I can really learn some things if I go back to school. Now, my career in sales and sales management had never really brought me the kind of fulfillment that I was looking for. I didn't have career satisfaction because what makes me tick is making a difference in people's lives. And selling the best thing in the world doesn't really make you feel like you're making a difference in their life. So I was searching for a more fulfilling a more fulfilling career, and I realized it was time for me to go back once and for all and get that degree. So I enrolled in Pierce College, and I started on the educational path. And so it all began. My friends thought I was crazy. You're going to be around people half your age. One of my friends said, you're going to be swimming in a sea of millennials. What are you going to do? Geez, I don't know. I think I'll survive. I didn't mind. As I said before, I'm a little older and a little grayer, etc. But I think I can fit in. I think I can make a go at this. And after all, I have a lot to learn. So I made it my mission to fully immerse myself in the college experience. I got a mentor through the peer-to-peer program, which was one of the best decisions I ever made. My mentor was half my age, but he taught me so much. I realized, wow, this program is no cost to me. I mean, this is unbelievable. One of the best decisions that I made, as I said. I started getting tutoring in our Center for Academic Success that Crystal runs. What a great decision that was as well. I found this group of amazing, selfless, helpful students that were all there for my benefit, for free. I don't know about you, but we Gen Xers, when someone says it's free, we don't really believe it. We're skeptical. But this was free. It was really free. So this put me on this new trajectory of higher education, something I'd always wanted from day one when I was in school. I was finally going to get there. I was inspired in new ways by people that I got to know, by my mentors and faculty and professors, by other students. I recognized that this was all due to the community of which I had become a part. And in the spring of 2016, I became a peer mentor to focus on helping newer students, like I had been helped. Now, last year, my economics professor invited me to become a tutor. I thought to myself, am I really qualified to be an economics tutor? Me? I don't think so. I'm no expert in this. Sure, I got an A in both micro and macro, but am I really capable of doing it? Well, she had a lot of faith in me. So I said, if she has this faith in me, I think I can do it. And so I went ahead and jumped in. When I went back to school, my initial plan was to get my Associates of Science degree in Business Administration and then to transfer to get my Bachelor's in Business Administration. Now, this was all before I became a tutor. My plans changed. Believe it or not, and some people can't believe this, I fell in love with economics. I saw the connection to real life. It inspired me. And the tutoring experience was transformative for me. I decided I'm going to change things. I'm going to go after my bachelor's in economics, and then I'm going to pursue my master's degree. Tutoring has inspired me. Thank you so much. And something I never intended, tutoring has inspired me to pursue a path as an educator, and I'm really grateful that I found it. Good morning again, everyone. My name is Jason Cascio, and I'm a non-traditional student, an econ tutor, and a peer-to-peer mentor at Pierce College. As I said before, non-traditional in this sense simply means I'm older, grayer, balder, etc. And I took an extended hiatus from school. That's about it. Other than that, I'm the same as everybody else. I'm going to touch on how tutoring impacted me in my life. We'll touch on the influence that we have on students and how I personally try to ensure that that's a positive influence on a daily basis. We're going to talk about how we shape our own future through tutoring. We'll also get into the communities of practice of which we are a part and how we can leverage those communities. I want to discuss the magic of tutoring and how it helps us crystallize our own purpose in life. For us tutors, we go to the tutoring centers for a set number of hours each day. And you know what? It's a job. It's definitely a job. But is it just a job, or is it something more? When I first began tutoring, I realized I joined this community of selfless and dedicated people whose sole aim was to help other students to help themselves. See, every single tutor has been given this powerful opportunity to impact our fellow students. We all have this amazing chance to positively impact and influence those students. When we help them to believe in themselves, by working with them, we actually create lasting breakthroughs in and of ourselves. This can mean carrying on versus giving up on a major or even a professor that student has had interaction with. We can help them to overcome that. Because our impact is so powerful, I try to be aware myself of how I'm coming across to my peers. And I regularly inquire within, am I maintaining the kind of professionalism in front of others that I should be? Does my behavior reflect the values that other students look up to and admire? You see, our actions don't just impact and influence those that we tutor, but they also impact ourselves. We shape our own future by the decisions as tutors that we make. And we've each been given this privilege of taking on additional responsibility in this realm of higher learning. Now, when we have a commitment to excellence in this position, it actually pays dividends. See, professors eagerly lend their help to those of us that have commitment and dedication in these roles. Matter of fact, many of them are more than happy to write us letters of recommendation when we want to transfer to that university. They're just waiting for us to prove ourselves. Once we've proven ourselves, some of them will even offer to be professional references. This is something I've had a number of them do for me, and I'm so grateful. When we set high standards for ourselves, we engage in a process of self-improvement and leadership development. Our tutoring experience develops and grows our own interpersonal skills, which are fundamental to success. And this I do have a little experience with. It does make a difference in the world out there. This can transform someone that's shy and introverted into someone that blossoms with self-confidence. These skills will be used for the rest of our lives in the business world, and they are arguably some of the most valuable skills. Tutoring is much more significant than some of us may realize. See, effective tutors understand that we are a part of something much larger than ourselves. We've all joined this network of educators and faculty, administrators, and other tutors. According to David Cooperrider and Suresh Srivastava, two professors who pioneered appreciative inquiry in the 1980s, success comes from uncovering what's right in the community's positive core and then sharing it with one another. Our tutor trainings provide us this unique opportunity to share our best practices and help each other to become more effective. This cooperative approach helps us to form tight-knit, smaller communities with those that share our interests or our specific subject matter. These relationships are founded on mutual trust because it's kind of like we're all in the trenches together on a daily basis. The underlying goal of all of this is to discover what works and then determine what leads to success. We become interdependent professionals leaning on one another with one sole collective aim, and that's to help students to help themselves. I've had the good fortune of forming strong relationships with other tutors in the economics department, accounting, social sciences, as well as a variety of other areas. And we actually have some study groups outside of school, outside of the Center for Academic Success, to help us to become better at our own studies. Many people have discovered that when you give of yourself, you actually gain more than you give. Zig Ziglar, who was, probably some of you are a little young, but he was one of the greatest sales trainers of all time. He once said, you can have anything in life you want if you just help enough other people get what they want. When helping students to achieve things they didn't know were possible, we help ourselves at the same time. Our own ability to problem solve and overcome challenges is strengthened. Now this helps establish our own experience as an educator for future opportunities in our careers. Our own academic foundation is strengthened through the workshops and trainings that we attend. All of this is great training for the professional world as well, outside of college and academia. Now, the most fulfilling career opportunities are those that align with our values. I'm sure most of us in this room would agree. I know those that don't align are not fulfilling at all. This brings me to my final point, which is the magic of tutoring. The magic of tutoring is that it helps each of us to find and create our own purpose in life. See, George Bernard Shaw said, life is not about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself. The magic of tutoring is it helps, I've already told you that. What does it do specifically? What is this magic, this secret sauce? It helps us to crystallize our own goals and desires and lay the groundwork for their achievement. We can test drive the role as an amateur educator, something that gives us firsthand experience that few other opportunities in community college do have, and particularly in such a supportive environment. According to one Chinese proverb, a bit of fragrance clings to the hand that gives flowers. The understanding and supportiveness that we show to students actually impacts how we view ourselves. You see, when we accept others in education as uniquely beautiful souls, regardless of age, sex, sexual orientation, ethnicity, background, faith, or learning disability, it enables us to accept and understand ourselves even more. Helping students to be successful opens up a world of possibility for our own success. Now, I've sure enjoyed our journey together today, and I want to thank you. I'd like to quickly recap what we've talked about. We talked about how I got involved in tutoring. We discussed the ways we can influence and impact students in our roles as tutors. We talked about how tutoring can impact and shape the lives of us individually, academically, and professionally. We touched on what it means to be a part of these communities of practice. I discussed Zig Ziglar's concept of getting anything you want in life by helping others. And we talked about the magic of tutoring and how it helps us to create and understand our own life's purpose. Now I'd like to tie things up with a quick story. Once upon a time, there was an old man who used to go to the ocean to do writing. He had a habit of walking on the beach every morning before he began his work. Early one morning, he was walking along the shore after a big storm had passed and found that the beach was littered with starfish as far as the eye could see in either direction. Off in the distance, the old man noticed a small boy he was approaching. As the boy walked, he paused every so often and would bend down. He would throw something into the ocean. The boy came closer still, and the man called out, "Good morning. May I ask what it is that you're doing?" The young boy paused. He looked up and he replied, "I'm throwing starfish into the ocean. The tide has washed them up onto the beach. If I don't return them to the water, they'll die when the sun gets high." The old man replied, "But there must be tens of thousands of starfish on this beach. I'm afraid you really won't make much of a difference." The boy bent down. He picked up another starfish. He threw it as far as he could into the ocean. Then he turned and he smiled. And he said, "It made a difference to that one." That poem was written by Peter Straub, and it was adapted from a book by Lauren Isley titled The Star Thrower. The next time you help a student, try to remember the starfish that boy threw back, because you are making a difference to that one. Thank you all very much.